So hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 22nd of November 2023. In today's newspaper analysis we are going to cover a mapping topic and then we are going to cover important articles from the newspaper. Today there were many important articles, very new articles and important articles in the newspaper. So let us quickly see the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's analysis. So these are the articles that we will look into, right, in today's analysis. So you can download this particular PDF from the description of the YouTube video also, right. So let us quickly see the first article, which is a mapping based topic, right. So there was an image in the front page itself in the Hindu today. So this particular image showcases, right, rhinoceros. As we can see over here, they are rhinoceros. And like 2/3 of the world's rhinoceros are found in the state of Assam in India. So like India is, let's say, like an ecologically, I would say, in terms of having rhinoceros, like we are a rich nation, right? We have huge number of rhinoceros. So they are found in Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. They are also found in Kaziranga National Park. They are found in Manas Tiger Reserve also. So they are found like across many places in the state of Assam. So in this article, what they have mentioned is, they have mentioned that one-horned rhinos and their babies gazing at the Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary in Morigaon district of Assam. So the thing is, here we need to understand where is this wildlife sanctuary located, Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. It is located in the state of Assam. So we are going to locate, right, the northeastern states. We are going to locate where is Assam located. So along with this, I have included another map for you. Here like we have the map of Northeast India. As we can see, Assam is at the center of Northeast India. Okay, this is at the center of Northeast India, like that. So this is the map of Assam, as we can see, right. I've just like outlined the map of Assam. So this is the overall map of Northeast India. There are 7 states over here, right. One of the state is Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have Nagaland, we have Manipur, we have Mizoram, 4th state. Then we have Tripura, 5th state, Meghalaya, 6th state, right. And then Assam as the 7th state. So 7 state is there. And if we include Sikkim also, this becomes the 8th state. So overall, these are the northeastern states in India, right. So where is Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary located? The Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is located in the state of Assam. Along with this, I have another map for you so that like we can exactly locate where in Assam is Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary located. So this is a map of India. This is the northeastern portion of India. If it is clear to you, you can see over here, right. This is the map of northeastern India. Over here, so what they have done is they have enlarged the map of Assam. Over here we can see this is the location where Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is located. This is the location. And also it is important for us to locate Kaziranga National Park. Kaziranga National Park is located here, right. This is Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, Kaziranga National Park. So if we talk about which of them is located to the northern portion, so Kaziranga National Park is located towards north, Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is located towards south. If we talk about which one is located to the eastern part, the Kaziranga National Park is located in the eastern part and this Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is located in the western part, like that, okay. So this is the thing, these two, right, areas, Kaziranga National Park, Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, they are very important because highest number of one-horned rhinoceros are found in Kaziranga National Park. This is very famous, right, in entire India, not only in India but across the globe, because one-horned rhinoceros, there are two-horned rhinoceros as well, but the population of one-horned rhinoceros is maximum in India. Right, it is maximum as compared to any other country in the world. So that's why it is important. So having understood this, let us now talk about the first article for the day. Yes, yes. So he is asking a question. Yes.
Sir, what is the IUCN status of one-horned rhinoceros?
So you need to check that one. Okay. So like you also need to check this IUCN status of one-horned rhinoceros, right? I think they are in the endangered category. You need to see, just check it. So meanwhile, we will discuss this particular topic. It says the OECD report on climate finance, right? So OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This particular organization is, let's say, like, its members are majorly the richest country of the world. Okay, so its members are rich countries of the world. What is the IUCN status? Vulnerable, right? So this particular thing, which is we just discussed, one-horned rhinoceros, so their IUCN status is vulnerable. So I'm just writing quickly, IUCN status of one-horned rhinoceros is vulnerable. So IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, it maintains a red list of threatened species. In that red list, it has 7 different, let's say, categorization. One of the categorization is vulnerable. So this one-horned rhinoceros is in vulnerable category. So along with this, so let us come to this particular topic now, which is we are going to discuss about the OECD report on climate finance. As we discussed, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This is the full name of this particular organization. So this has come up with a report, and this particular report talks about a very, let's say, like, important notion that, like, we have breached the target. Okay, so it says the OECD has come up with a report that says, like, most of the countries in the world are short of their promises. They were not able to tackle the thing. They were not able to tackle the climate related thing. And in this article, they have mentioned about that, like, we have breached the target. Okay, so with deep regret, Glasgow. So they have mentioned about it. So here a new report shows that economic, this is the thing. So let us discuss about this particular organization also. Let's discuss about this report in detail. So this is topic 1 for the day. Here we are going to discuss about the OECD report on climate finance. The OECD report on climate finance. So here basically we need to understand why Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development came out with a report. What is their motive behind coming up with this particular report? This is an important part. Also, we need to understand that, like, there is, if we talk about the developed versus developing nations, right? So most of the countries are of the opinion, right, that if we talk about the earth, if we talk about globe, globe, so it can be divided into two major group of countries. One group of countries which are generally located on the northern hemisphere, they are rich countries. They are known as developed countries. And other group of countries are, let's say, developing countries. They are developing or underdeveloped countries. Let us group them as developing countries. So those countries that are developed countries now, these countries have adopted certain developmental path, and their developmental path has contributed to the global warming. It has increased the global temperature. Not only it has done that, it has also polluted the, let's say, environment. Why? Because the entire environment that we talk about, the environment that, let's say, surround the earth, at this environment, right, the atmosphere of the earth, it is a global common. Environment is a what? It is a global common. Global common means if you affect the environment at one place, it's going to affect the environment at other places also, because air continuously keeps on moving. So affected air will move other places also. So it does have, let's say, repercussions for other countries as well. So what has happened, like these developed countries, right, for meeting their developmental needs, they have already polluted the environment. So they do have historical responsibilities. They have something which is known as historical responsibilities. So they are historically responsible for causing the pollution, right? For causing the pollution, and for increasing the greenhouse gases, right? For increasing the greenhouse gases that are leading up to warming the climate. So the thing is, it has been agreed in previous conventions, right? It has been agreed that the developed countries will provide, what they will do, developed countries will provide funding, developed countries will provide funding to the developing countries. Why? So that the developing countries can mitigate their climate change thing. Means like they are also on the path of development, the way that developed countries were there, long before. So if they want to develop, they will be adopting certain kind of technologies, and these technologies will further harm the, let's say, harm the environment. It is going to cause global warming. So that's why it was agreed as part of historical responsibility that developed countries will provide funding to the developing countries. And these developing countries will utilize these funding for taking alternative course to development, to adopt certain kind of technologies that will be climate friendly. So it was agreed that the developed countries will provide a funding to the tune of $100 billion. Okay, they will provide $100 billion per year, right? $1 billion per year to the developing countries. And recently we are going to have a meeting. This is known as UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. There will be a conference of parties to this, which is known as Conference of Parties 28. And this conference of parties is going to happen at United Arab Emirates, UAE. It's going to happen in Dubai. Okay, it's going to happen in Dubai. It's going to happen in UAE, right? United Arab Emirates. Like especially it is going to be held at Dubai. So in Dubai, the entire world will put fingers on the developed countries that you have committed that you are going to provide $100 billion of funding to the developing countries so that they can adapt, they can mitigate the climate risk associated with their developmental path. So have you provided the funding? The question from the entire world will be to the developed countries, have you provided funding? So if we talk about this Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, this OECD is a grouping of rich countries. It is a grouping of generally developed countries. So these developed countries have recently, let's say, this Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has come up with a report, and in that report they have talked about what the developed countries has done. In this report they have mentioned about how much funding the developed countries have provided to the developing countries, how much funding they have provided. So here they have mentioned about 89.6 billion, right? They have provided $89.6 billion of funding, right? $1 billion of funding in 2021 to the developing countries. They have provided, right, in 2021. So they fell short of by, let's say, by a very less percentage, right? So here they have mentioned about they have fell short by 14%, but it amounts to around 11%, whatever be the case. So they have mentioned the stand of the developed countries that they have already provided funding, right? But in this article they have also mentioned that does this $100 billion, is it sufficient for the developing countries to adopt a different path so that they can mitigate the climate risk? So in this article they say that this is a very, very small amount. They need at least $1 trillion per year. They need at least $1 trillion per year, right, to mitigate the impact of climate change. And in this article they have discussed that in the Paris Agreement, it was agreed by different countries that they will not let the global warming go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade as compared to pre-industrial level. And the thing is, if it is not met, so they will not let it go beyond 2 degrees centigrade by the year of 2100 as compared to pre-industrial level. So these were the targets that were achieved, that were, let's say, set by the entire world in the Paris Agreement that has happened in 2015. In 2015, so there was a United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC meeting in 2015, where Paris Agreement was signed by all the members of the UNFCCC. So it was agreed that these countries will provide funding. But in this article, they have mentioned about what will be the role of the funding, what will be the nature of the funding. The nature of funding means the kind of money that the developed countries are providing. They are not providing it as grant. Grant means they give the money, they do not ask back the money. But the thing is, developed countries are stressing that we are going to provide funding, but we are going to give it as loan. So the thing is, if developed countries give funding to the developing countries as loans, so it puts undue pressure on the developing countries to, let's say, pay back those loans. So the developing countries will be in a grim situation, means for repayment. So as of now, around 60% of the total funding that has been provided, so 60% of the funding has been categorized as loans, right? It has been categorized as loans to the developing countries from the developed countries. So in this article, they talk about that how it is going to be accounted. So it is being accounted as loans. So here there are concerns, and in this article they have mentioned about something which is known as additionality. Okay, we need to understand about this additionality. So as per additionality, the developed countries have to provide additional funding to the developing countries. And the thing is, developed countries, and it is being stressed upon developed countries that the additional funding that you are going to provide, you should not categorize as developmental assistance loans as well as this climate mitigation loans. I mean, they should not double account the same amount that they are saying. So it will be similar to, let's say, robbing someone to pay someone. This is not right. Okay, if you double account this particular thing, you are paying the same money, right? But for two different purposes, so different amount of money should be provided. Means developed countries may provide the developing countries some loans, maybe for installation of solar panels and all. But that should not be accounted at climate, let's say, mitigation assistance that way. That is mentioned. So in this article, they have mentioned about how much financial assistance is needed. They need around $1 trillion at least per year to be able to meet the Paris Climate Agreement. And it is mentioned in this report that the world is, let's say, will be able to meet only 14% of the Paris Agreement, not much. The targets that we have set, 86% of the target is not going to be met with the current level of, let's say, effort that is being made globally. So the kind of funding that the developed countries are providing, these funding is not sufficient. And the kind of funding that the developing countries are receiving, they are not homogeneous. Those countries that need more are receiving less. Those countries that do not need, maybe they might be receiving. So it is not, let's say, properly accounted also. So in this article, they say there should be a proper assessment, there should be proper funding on a regular basis, there should be transparent mechanism, and also there should be consensus among the developed countries that how these funding will be treated. Should they be treated as loans or should they be treated as grants? Because developed countries want to maintain a kind of ambiguous situation so that let's say new call does not arise in the Conference of Parties 28 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So this topic is important. You need to read this article once more, right, to, let's say, jot down some of the facts.
And sir, there was one report as well. Previously, I think recently it was released. I think it was Global Ambition Gap Report. So sir, it said that we have already reached 1.3 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, we have already breached. And in this article, they have mentioned that September 2023 was the highest, means we have witnessed the highest temperature in the world. So highest, let's say, rise in temperature. So they have said in that month we have witnessed global average temperature go beyond 1.8 degrees centigrade in that month. In the same article they have mentioned. So we have another topic we are going to discuss. It says recognizing the impact of climate change on health. This topic is also equally important from the environment and ecology point of view, right? Recognizing the importance of climate change, impact of climate change on health. So this article is also equally important. We are quickly going to write down the topic. Recognizing the impact of climate change on health, right?
Yes.
Climate change on health. So basically in this article also the context that the author takes, the context is the Conference of Parties 28 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So this is going to be held in Dubai, which is located in United Arab Emirates. So in the Conference of Parties, they are going to discuss about that what is the impact of climate change on human health. So human health is, let's say, like, aggravated by different kind of diseases. Some kind of diseases that they have mentioned here is non-communicable diseases, and other is communicable diseases. They have discussed about non-communicable diseases and communicable diseases. So let us discuss about what is the difference between these two type of diseases. Non-communicable diseases are those diseases that do not transfer from one person to another person. Means like it does not easily transfer from one person to another. For example, if we talk about diabetes, right? Or if we talk about hypertension, etc. So these kind of diseases affect an individual, right? But it does not affect the other individual, right? It does not get transmitted. If we talk about communicable diseases are those diseases that transfer from one person to another person. For example, if we talk about COVID-19, so it is a communicable disease. If we talk about TB, tuberculosis, it is a communicable disease, okay? So tuberculosis is a communicable disease. Or COVID-19, I mean, like, which was declared as a pandemic, this is also a kind of communicable disease that transfers from one person to another person while touching or maybe sneezing or bodily fluid transfer, etc. So these are the diseases, okay? So we are going to understand or assess the impact of climate change on health. So when the climate is changing, right, we are seeing global warming. Because of global warming, there are many species that are not able to adapt to the changing climate. Many species are dying, and some species are migrating from their own places to other places. Since they are migrating from their places to another places, what happens, like, their migration also causes risks to the places where they are going. There can be certain species, for example, if we talk about bat. So bat are host of many different kind of viruses. For example, Nipah virus, right? Nipah virus has arisen from bat. And also COVID-19 is said to have originated from bats itself. So the thing is, if they migrate from their own places, let's say, like, in hilly areas to let's say plain areas and all, they also carry those diseases with them. And it may let's say hamper the human beings. It may hamper the human beings. So here the author is saying that climate change does have impact on human health. Because of climate change, pollution level is rising. In Delhi, we are witnessing that Delhi is the topmost city in the world, which is that has witnessed the air pollution, like, the air pollution level category. So Delhi is the topmost. In India, we have three such let's say cities. One is Delhi, second is Mumbai, third is Kolkata. So these are highly affected because of pollution. And this pollution is, let's say, like, impacting the human health. It is impacting, let's say, respiratory health of human being. And if we have some preconditions related to our health, so this situation aggravates. the life expectancy of people also goes down because of this particular thing. So author says that human health is intricately related with the health of the environment. Although in this article they have not mentioned this particular thing, there is a concept which is known as One Health. What? There is a concept which is known as One Health. According to this concept, the health of human is associated or related with the health of the environment, which is associated with the health of the animals, right? Health of plants, animals, human beings, they are interconnected. So health of them should be taken as entirety. So far we have been dealing with the health of human beings separately. We have been dealing with health of animals separately. But the thing is, like, health of human beings, animals and plants, they are intricately connected, right? So here, human health, animal health, right? And plant health. Plant means that includes environment and ecology. They are intricately connected with one another. They are related with one another. If any one of them faces difficulty, so the thing is, it is inevitable that like this is not going to transfer. Means like it is essentially going to transfer to, if health of animal deteriorates, so the thing is health of plant will deteriorate. So the thing is, if health of plant is deteriorating, it is going to impact the human health also. So One Health concept should be seen over here. In this article they have mentioned, as the climate change continues unabated, it could worsen India's double burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases. Okay, India already has huge number of people who are affected by one of these diseases. Recently there was a global TB report by WHO. So that have mentioned that in India there are around, let's say, like, more than 10 lakh people who are affected by TB every year. Globally, about 13 lakh people die because of tuberculosis every year. Yesterday, there was an article that talked about that cancer cases may rise to, let's say, like, 40 lakh cases per, I think 40 lakh, 20 lakh cases.
I think 10 lakh cases per year. It will increase
Yeah.
by 2040.
By 2040, I think 20 lakh they have mentioned cases per year will be there. So cancer is a non-communicable disease, right? So that's the thing. So this is the thing. So we need to understand that it is very important that health of the environment should be, let's say, like, taken seriously. We should work towards health of the environment. So this is the thing. So with this, we have another article. This is from a different, let's say, subject altogether. We are going to discuss about international relations. International relations is part of GS paper 2 of the means exam. So in this article they have discussed about India-Japan convergence in Southeast Asia, right? So let's discuss about this particular topic quickly. India, Japan, right? India, Japan converge in Southeast Asia. Converge in Southeast Asia. So let's understand about this topic, how the author has connected India with Japan. So when we talk about Southeast Asia, in Southeast Asia there are many countries, right? We do have an organization also. So Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So if we talk about ASEAN, ASEAN has 10 member countries, right, as part of it. And out of these 10 members, let's say, like, Philippines is there, Myanmar is there, right? Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, right? Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, they are members of ASEAN. So what has happened, like if we talk about China, China is the largest country in Asia, I would say, after Russia, right? After Russia, China is the thing. China is a big economy. It is a very big economy. And not only it's a big economy, it also tries to maintain a hegemonic structure. What kind of a structure? Hegemonic structure means like, it asserts its power on other smaller countries. So other smaller countries also, although maintain good relation with China, but they are concerned about their own sovereignty, because many a times China has shown its willingness to take territories of other countries, to control the maritime or let's say like land territories in other countries. So that's why many countries are not feeling themselves secure in the presence of China. So recently one of the country in this particular article, they have mentioned about one country, which is Philippines, right? So Philippines, they have discussed about Philippines, which is Philippines happens to be a member of ASEAN. Earlier Philippines was, let's say, had tied up with China. Earlier it had tied up with China with some infrastructure projects. But because of the ongoing tensions between Philippines and China related to South China Sea dispute, so Philippines has showcased its interest to, let's say, tie up with India and Japan, right? Tie up with India and Japan. So India is, let's say, I would say, second largest country after China in this particular region, right? And Japan is a island country, which is a developed country. Being a small country itself, it supports many developmental projects across the world. So in this article, the author has mentioned that Philippines has tilted towards India and Japan together. Philippines tilted towards Japan for security purposes and towards India for developmental loan assistance purposes. Okay, so in this article, they have discussed about overseas developmental loans, right? Overseas developmental loans. They have discussed about overseas developmental loans. In short, it is known as ODA. ODA means overseas developmental assistance or loans, like that. So these two countries are becoming favorite, not only among Philippines but among many other countries also, right, in Southeast Asia. So author says that this is the right time for India and Japan to tap this particular opportunity, to come closer to these countries in Southeast Asian region. If we come closer to the Southeast Asian region, if we come closer to these countries, so the thing is like, we will be able to safeguard our own interest in the region. What kind of interest? We want security in the South China Sea. We want, let's say, freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. If these countries come together, so they will be together putting up a narrative against China. As of now, what is happening? There are many countries that are not happy with China related to South China Sea issue, but at the same time, because of differences among themselves, they are not having a unified voice against China. So if India comes closer to Philippines, if Japan comes closer to Philippines, other countries will also be attracted towards India and Japan. And we can, let's say, like, we can nudge them, we can change their behavior to come together so that they can assert their sovereign rights, right, against China in South China Sea, and also to maintain stability in the region. So in this article, author has put forward various views. It says more recently India has also offered to supply the Philippine Coast Guard with 7 indigenously manufactured helicopters based on soft loan agreement with extended payment terms. So Indian government has, let's say, thought of supporting the Philippines Coast Guard, so by providing them what? Indigenously built submarines, I think, right? They have mentioned 7 indigenously manufactured helicopters, right? So we are providing them this way. So many other issues are also discussed in this article. Basically, this pertains to the relationship of Southeast Asian nation countries with China and how these countries are being drawn towards India and Japan. Because Japan has maintained good relation with these countries. Japan provides developmental loans to many countries, including India also. And recently, India and Japan came together to support Sri Lanka during its economic crisis. So now other countries are also looking towards India and Japan. So that's why. So author says the conditions are prime for two countries. The conditions are prime for two countries to operationalize their shared vision for the Indo-Pacific. Okay, these two countries are India and Japan. So they should operationalize their shared vision in the Indo-Pacific region. That's the thing. So with this, we are quickly going to move to the next article. This article is very small article. We are going to discuss about it. It says alarming countdown. All nations must strive for net zero carbon emissions. This is a very, very important article. Very short, although like we have discussed some part of it in our previous discussion itself. So let's discuss about this particular topic. Topic number 4. It says alarming countdown. Alarming countdown. So here in this article they talk about a concept which is net zero. So we are going to discuss about what do we mean by net zero. So to understand that particular concept, we need to understand that let's say this is the world, this is world, right? This is the earth, and in the world there are around 194 countries that are members of the United Nations organization. So there are many countries, and these countries set their own laws related to their developmental plan or developmental path. And if we talk about countries like India, right, countries like India, so there are many countries in the world, right? So these countries, what they have, these countries are going through a transformative phase, a kind of developmental phase. And if we are going through a developmental phase, what we are going for industrialization, right? We are going for industrialization. And during the time of industrialization, right, this also acquires a kind of, let's say, like economic path where countries are emitting carbon dioxide. What we are doing, we are emitting carbon dioxide, we are emitting other greenhouse gases. Why we discuss about carbon dioxide more? Because carbon dioxide is a gas that has the potential of causing greenhouse gas, that has the potential of increasing the global warming, that has the potential of increasing the global temperature. And the quantity of carbon dioxide is continuously increasing in the atmosphere. Okay, quantity of carbon dioxide is continuously increasing in the atmosphere. Since its quantity is increasing, so the thing is it poses risk of global warming. So these countries that are undergoing a transformative phase, that are undergoing a developmental phase, and although those countries that have already undergone developmental phase, they are still emitting huge amount of carbon, they are emitting huge amount of greenhouse gases. So their greenhouse gas emission is contributing to global warming. Why we are worrying of global warming? We are worried of global warming because global warming will lead to alteration in the, let's say, climate, global climate. It will lead to, let's say, melting of the ice that are there in the, let's say, frozen regions, North Pole, South Pole, right? Glaciers will be melted. If glaciers are melted, it will lead to rise in the sea level. And if sea level rise happens, there are many island nations that are going to get submerged. It is going to alter the overall, let's say, like, atmospheric condition. So far, we have not only had one ice age, there have been 4 to 5 ice ages earlier. Means like, the entire earth has gone through so much transformation that like there have been time where the entire world was totally covered by ice. There have been a time where the world has gone out of water as well. So the thing is, we don't want such situation to happen with our future generations also. So that's why it is important that we should act towards mitigating the climate risk, toward reducing the climate risk. So the thing is, many countries have thought of achieving net zero carbon emission. So net zero what? Carbon emission. So why net zero carbon emission? Because we know carbon emission is associated with global warming. It is associated with increasing the global temperature. So many countries have adopted target. For example, if we talk about developed countries like United States of America, European Union, etc., they have adopted a target that by the year of 2050, we will achieve net zero carbon emission. Means whatever carbon we are going to emit, we are also going to sink that amount of carbon. We are going to go for carbon sequestration of equal amount, so that overall contribution to the global warming from our country remains zero. So India has also adopted a target. India has adopted a target of net zero by 2017. But in this article, which says alarming countdown, in this article they say that all these targets that are adopted by these countries, they are vague. They say they have just made statements that they are going to do this. However, they are not doing sufficient. And the time has come that the global warming is increasing at an unprecedented rate. Global warming is increasing beyond expected level, right? So the thing is, in this article, author says that these targets that are adopted by these countries are vague. They have just adopted the targets, but on ground they are not doing much. As we have seen in the previous article, that only 14% of the target will be achieved by these countries by the year of 2030. Only 14% of the target of reducing the climate change. Means here this article is also associated with Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement was signed in 2015. Paris Agreement was signed as part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So under Paris Agreement, we have said that as compared to the pre-industrial level, we will not let the global warming go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade in this particular century, means by 2100. And if not possible, we will have an ultimatum at 2 degrees centigrade by 2100. Means we will compare the temperature, what was the temperature during pre-industrial level and what will be the temperature at the end of 2100. So initial target is 1.5 degrees centigrade. We want to keep it below 1.5 degrees centigrade temperature rise as compared to pre-industrial level, and if not possible, we will definitely try to keep it beyond this. But in this article they say that if we go by this, if we go by the current scenario, so there will be 2.8 degree increase in the global warming. It will lead to huge amount of melting of ice. It will lead to submergence of island nations, those nations that are island nations. So most of the island nations will be submerged. One of the country which is very near to India, which is, let's say, no, Andaman Nicobar is a part of India. So we have this, there was a presidential election also. Maldives, right? So Maldives is there. Then there are many other countries. So they are at the verge of getting submerged. That's the thing. So this is a existential threat for these countries, right? This is the thing. So in this article they say that what all nations must strive for net zero carbon emission. All nations. Many countries have adopted the target, many countries have not adopted the target. But in this article they say all nations must strive to achieve the net zero carbon emission. Only then we will be able to meet the carbon, targets that we have set as part of Paris Agreement. So all of these things are mentioned. A lot of data is also mentioned in this article. Then we have another topic, another article. It says parochial law. States must need to implement labor rights uniformly and not rely on protectionism. This is a very interesting article. It is related to economy. We are going to discuss about this article quickly. Very short one. Name of the topic is parochial law, right? Parochial law. So let's discuss about this topic quickly. Here, to understand this article, we will take the example of Haryana. In this article they have mentioned Haryana. So Haryana is a state in India, as we know. So recently Haryana government has made a law. According to that particular law, they have provided 75% reservation. What? 75% reservation to local people in blue collar jobs, to local people in blue collar jobs. Blue collar jobs means those jobs that do not require very high skilled people. Means here they have mentioned those jobs that pay less than 30,000 rupees a month, okay, less than 30,000 rupees a month per month to the workers. So in those jobs there should be 75% reservation to the local people of Haryana, and this reservation is not in government jobs. They have said this particular reservation will be provided in private jobs. Private jobs means like those private companies that are located in Haryana, whether they are, let's say, like, you know, Haryana companies that are Haryana from Haryana itself, or multinational companies, if they are employing people and if they are paying less than 30,000 a month, they should give 75 reservation to the local people. So in this article basically they talk about that how this particular law violates some of the provisions of the Constitution of India. So when we talk about the Constitution of India, the Constitution of India has many fundamental rights, right? Constitution of India has many fundamental rights. One of the article is Article 14 of the Constitution of India. Then other article is Article 19 of the Constitution of India. And there are many other articles also. Article 14 of the Constitution of India says there should be equality before the law and equal protection of law. Means everybody should be treated equal if they are Indian citizens. But this particular reservation is not treating people equally. They are giving more prominence to the local people of Haryana. They are, let's say, discriminating against people from other states. So it is leading to a kind of protectionism measures. Okay, it is leading to a kind of what? Protectionist measure. Okay, so this example is a kind of protectionist measure of the Haryana government, right? But this protectionist measure actually violates a fundamental right under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. This fundamental rights talks about, let's say, right to equality, equality before the law and equal protection of law. Other article is Article 19 of the Constitution of India. Article 19 of the Constitution of India talks about right to freedom. So right to freedom means we do have freedom of speech and expression. We have the freedom of, let's say, residing in any part of the country. We have the freedom of, let's say, doing job anywhere in the country. So the thing is, if this particular law is made to be there, so the thing is, it is violating many provisions of Article 19 of the Constitution of India, which is a fundamental right. If all states, let's say, create such laws, then people will be disincentivized to move from one part of the country to another part. So the fraternity that we want to bring in India, the fraternity for which the Constitution of India enshrines, right, in the preamble itself, so that will be broken because of the protectionist measure. So recently what has happened, there is a Punjab and Haryana High Court, okay, Punjab and Haryana, or Punjab and so this Punjab and Haryana High Court, this High Court has struck down this particular law. What it has done, it has struck down. So they have said, the Punjab and Haryana High Court has said that this particular law is against the principle of fundamental rights in the Constitution of India. So they have struck down this particular thing. And there is a tendency among other states also. In this article they have given example of, let's say, Andhra Pradesh, and they have given example of another state, right? So in Andhra Pradesh and Jharkhand, they have also enacted similar legislation, okay? And Andhra Pradesh High Court has said it may be unconstitutional. However, Andhra Pradesh High Court has reserved the judgment, so they are going to give the judgment at a later point of time. But Punjab and Haryana High Court has already struck down this particular thing. So this is a protectionist measure of the state government, but this is against the principles that are enshrined in the Constitution of India. This is against the fundamental rights also. Fundamental rights have been given the sacrosanct status in the Constitution of India. Means no law can violate the fundamental rights in the Constitution of India. However, the central government has been given, the parliament has been given the authority to amend the fundamental rights also, but provided basic structure of the constitution is not meddled with. So a lot of things are there. Now this is another article. This article is also equally important. We are going to discuss about it. It says, Supreme Court calls for collaborating efforts to bring children into the adoption pool. So here we are talking about those children, right? We are talking about those children who are, right? Those children who are orphaned, who are abandoned, and those orphans, let's say, like, you know, means like those children who are orphaned, abandoned, and these children, let's say, like, you know, are available. These children are available for adoption. So in India, there is an agency which is known as CARA. In short, it is known as CARA. What is the full form of CARA? So it is Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay, its name is Central Adoption Resource Authority. Central Adoption Resource Authority. What this authority does? Basically, this authority looks into the issue of welfare of the children. This authority looks into the issue of, let's say, providing adoption to the children. Okay, providing adoption to the children means, like, you know, this facilitates adoption of the children. Means in India there can be many children who are abandoned, who are orphaned. These children are in orphanages, so they can be adopted by Indian parents, they can be adopted by foreign parents. So this authority actually regulates this particular matter, it makes laws, it enables this provision. So recently the Supreme Court of India has called upon that there should be collaborative effort between various agencies to look into the case, that to make, let's say, like, you know, in India there are many children who are available for adoption, and there are many parents who are willing to adopt children. So as per this particular authority, Central Adoption Resource Authority, around 2000 some children, means like 2146 children were available for adoption. However, in India there are about 30,000 prospective adopted parents. There are 30,000 parents who are willing to adopt children. So there is a mismatch. So that's why the Supreme Court of India has said that earlier what happens, like, many parents adopt children and later on they surrender also the children. So the Supreme Court of India has said that check in all the orphanages that which children are available, make a proper data so that we can facilitate adoption of these children. Because, like, you know, if these children are in orphanages, their future is, let's say, like, you know, their future is what? In dark. So if they are adopted, their future will be, let's say, like, you know, safeguarded. That's the thing. So with this we came to another article. This article says High Court says surrogacy using donor gametes can be prohibited as a condition in consent form. So there have been many cases recently. So these cases pertain to a kind of a thing which is related to surrogacy. So what do we mean by surrogacy? Surrogacy means, like, you know, there are parents, let's say, like, you know, there are parents. One of them is male, other is female. So through their biological processes, they are unable to bear a child. So the thing is, they need another female person to bear the child for this particular parent. Okay, so they need another female. So this female would provide her gametes to this person. The male would provide gamete, I mean, like, you know, and she will bear the child. So this is known as surrogacy. Surrogacy means third person is also involved who actually bears the child on the womb. But this child belongs to them because they belong to biological genes of these parents. Because of defect in this particular female, so they are not able to bear the child through natural processes. But in India, we have created a law which is, let's say, like, you know, Surrogacy Regulation Act of 2021. According to the Surrogacy Regulation Act of 2021, India allows for altruistic surrogacy. What? We allow for altruistic surrogacy. What do we mean by altruistic surrogacy? Altruistic surrogacy means like surrogacy cannot be used for commercial purposes. It should be done for altruistic purposes. So this particular female should be a close relative of the prospective parents. So this does not allow the gametes, right? It allows the gametes to be used from the parents itself, not allow the female gametes to be used from a third, let's say like, female. But the thing is, recently there were cases in Delhi High Court also, and in these cases there was a female, I mean like, she was a single mother, she wanted to have a baby. But the thing is like, she could not produce reproductive cells herself. So she's challenged this particular thing, that there are provisions in the Surrogacy Regulation Act that hamper a person from being a parent. So the court has, let's say like, nullified that particular provision. And in this article also they have talked about that there are certain forms that needs to be filled. One of the form is form 2. In this form they have mentioned that like, they will not allow the donated eggs to be used in surrogacy. But the thing is, the High Court has recently nullified this particular thing. The High Court of Karnataka has, let's say like, observed that disallowing surrogacy using donor gametes as a condition of the consent form for seeking permission to undergo process is contrary to the Surrogacy Regulation Act. So they say like, a form cannot, let's say, cannot overpower or overturn the authority of the act. So act should be given preference, and accordingly you need to modify the forms, right? So this is what is said. So in this article basically the court has upheld the right of the parents to use a donated egg also for going for surrogacy. Now we have another very small article. It says tribal activist hail compensation for land regulation under FRA. FRA stands for the Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act. So this is Act of 2006. In short, it is known as Forest Rights Act. Forest Rights Act 2006. So when we talk about the Forest Rights Act 2006, it gives rights to the aboriginal people, to the tribal people who inhabit the forest areas to use the resources that are derived from the forest, right? So the thing is, they can use the land for their purposes, they can transfer the land, but the land transfer should happen on a hereditary basis. Hereditary, right? Hereditary basis. Means the land transfer cannot happen through sale. Means like if there is a forest dweller, he is inhabiting on a certain area, he cannot sell it, that land. He can transfer this land to his, let's say like, to his heirs, next generation, and it can be transferred through hereditary thing. So recently the government was establishing a expressway. This is a greenfield expressway that would connect means like various portions. So in this article they have mentioned about that expressway. So that expressway actually will unsettle people from their own places, but the Odisha government had decided to compensate them, to provide compensatory land or to provide compensatory money. So in this article they have said that tribal activists, they have said that they have received proper compensation from the government. Means like they have hailed, they have supported the compensation that they have received from the government. So basically we wanted to discuss about the Forest Rights Act of 2006. This act is in news and there is a likelihood that there can be a question in the prelims exam from this. There can be a question in the mains exam also from this topic. Then we have another article, the last article for the day, a short article. Inflation still remains a key risk to growth, cautions Finance Ministry. So the Finance Ministry in India has cautioned about inflation. What do we mean by inflation? Inflation means when the general prices of goods and services increase over a period of time. So means if today, if you are able to purchase a pen at rupees 10, maybe after a year you may have to pay rupees 12 or 15 to purchase the same pen. It means you are paying more to purchase the same services. It means the purchasing power of the money is going down, So here the Ministry of Finance has said that inflation still remains a risk to growth. Because of high inflation, we can have problems in growth, right? This is what is said by the ministry. So ministry flags potential inflation risks that price gains pose to growth even as it sees drop in crude oil prices at a moderating factor. So means like they have talked about multiple things. So we just needed to understand this part. So Ministry of Finance Ministry has talked about this, and also there are many agencies across the world, Standards and Poor's, they have also released report. They have talked about that, like, if inflation remains controlled, so Indian economy may grow properly. Okay, this is what is said by them. So that's all in today's newspaper analysis. Thank you so much everyone who are attending the class online and who will watch the video at a later date. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.